you can prepare for the future of your children. The more they grow, the more they can actually impact, the more they can actually make some changes, because for what we aim for today may not be what we will aim for tomorrow, you see.
Yeah.
So now, what do you think the parents can do in order to make their children to be more obedient?
Um, for me here, the first thing it's all about establishing a certain good communication line with your kids. That's it's very fundamental because sometimes we tend to refuse to even listen to the idea the kids also are giving. Sometimes they may not be that bad, but as parents, if you only think you will need to impose what you have in mind for them to do, it doesn't
More
work,
problems than solutions.
especially when those kids are grown up. So I think here is first establishing a good system of communication and also allowing kids to like having a say in how things are being run even with them. Making them to understand their limits in how they think, because sometimes you may see the limit quicker than your kids because you have the experience in life.
So, what is a good communication? For example, where you say good communication, what is a good communication between a father and a son, or for example?
Now, first,
How should they communicate?
for me, my ideal ship is knowing your kids too very well. Sometimes these kids they have different temperaments. Knowing how to tackle your communication with them, and maybe sometimes giving an ear to listen to the rubbish they say, they will feel comfortable with that. That later on you can maybe bring out the ends, like I said. Yeah, we laugh, but it's very important. It's very important. In some homes, kids are not allowed to speak, which is not good. And they tend to be people where when they are like where we're at today, if they have to give out a speech, they can't. Because throughout their life, when they want to talk, they ask you to keep your mouth shut.
They were not given the opportunity to express
To
themselves.
express themselves. That's why you need to establish that path where kids feel comfortable first with you. Because a home where kids feel very comfortable with their parents, things are not hidden.
Exactly.
Every information are always pushed ahead.
Yeah.
And every solution is given upon. And it's cultural. You know, naturally, I always tend out to say today what Africans are doing is a colonial mind of education.
I love, I love this term, colonial mind of education.
Education, where they don't seek solutions, they find fault, so they will punish you severely. Yeah.
I really like the term because it really describes exactly what we are going through.
Yeah.
Like, either you do what I want or I punish you.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that when you go down deep to the African history, we do not beat children like we do today. No, it wasn't done before. They will take the elders, they will bring the children to the elders, and the elders will talk to the child. There, do you know you're bringing shame upon your family with what you're doing? Because most of the time, they know a family is a continuation. Family is continuity. That's why if you look the Asian society, they don't play with their siblings. Kids stays in the house till the day they can take charge of themselves fully. Or sometimes kids leave the house, or men especially, leaves the house only when they are married. With girls, yeah.
So, sorry, if we come out to Africa, when did this child beating start? And how did it start?
When the white man came, when the whites they came, if they have to force you to do something, they have to corporally punish you, and this mentality and culture widespread it. And up to the point where for those of us who schooled in Cameroon, there was even a say that pour que un noir puisse faire quelque chose, il faut utiliser la chicotte.
Can you please translate so that we all understand?
For a black to do something, you need to use a whip. Yeah, that's you can see how far this mindset has incrusted into our core and now deep down to our society, because a lot of kids today sometimes are even beaten corporally without really knowing the reasons for it.
And it don't even seem to be working because the way the children are being beaten today, it doesn't seem to change anything.
It doesn't change. That's why I say, like, I would take again an instance for me. It's like I did something and my dad was trashing me. And my mom came into the picture. She said, I think for me, you are beating, you are trashing that child without telling him what he did. He don't even know what he did wrong. I think we should tell him that next time don't do this again, and he will learn. And that, and now at some point now my dad's still trashing me out now, telling me you did this, you shouldn't do it again. And that's where personally, and I said, oh, okay, the thing I did wasn't good. I didn't even know what I did wrong.
Okay. One more thing I want to ask you. You know, nowadays, there are a lot of intelligent children,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, some of our parents are illiterate. When I say illiterate here, it's not like an insult, but it's a fact. You know,
Yeah.
most of our grandparents, they didn't go to school, so
Understand.
now they want to frame up. They'll have to decide for our fate. But unfortunately, things have changed. We learn on social media, Facebook, and so on. So, do you really think it would be appropriate for literate children to actually keep listening, keep learning from their parents who may not be actually literate?
Yeah, the question you just exposed, it's something very important and debatable too. First of all, we spoke about something in the beginning. When a parent understands their limitation, communication will flow. Now, some parents, because they couldn't be educated to some point,
Mm-hmm.
turn out to want to use their kids to correct their own mistakes, which is not quite bad,
Yes, normal.
but at the same time, it doesn't adapt to that kid sometimes because the realities are different. You understand? And there is something about African parents not understanding what is passion. You may want to do something, but you don't like it. But sometimes you want to do something which you really love it. And they don't have the capacity to promote or to push the child to go in for their passions. And just because sometimes they don't have the adequate information or the broad knowledge on what those kids are to do or doing, they turn out maybe to still want to impose at any point in time because they feel that they are the parents. Yes, but it doesn't work in every stand. Now, I think for me, in my own opinion, as a parent, if you know you are not fully educated or have broad knowledge on some things or domain concerning your kids, you can as well come to your kids, sit with them, have this good convivial conversation. Where are you taking this to? Maybe there the informations they will give you, you may see the same light with them, and you will even have more information concerning that because you don't have them. Because you see some parents that never had even a first school living certificate will be giving you maybe solutions on how to have an advanced level, for example. Yeah, some of them may have had some informations behind or maybe try to be present in every sphere, but sometimes most of the time they just have this emotionally. They don't have it in terms of knowledge. And now when you bring it, depending on how they put it to the kids, especially on that part of imposing, which is not really quite nice, it brings trouble, it brings problems most of the time. And that's where the rebellious part comes to the kids.
Yeah.
Because as an African parent, when you keep on instigating fear to your kids, there is a time where they don't scare you anymore, especially when they can start taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
And it becomes to your own disadvantage because you lose a child.
You lose control over the child.
When you are a nice parent, like you initiate conversation, you initiate things with your children, you pour out yourself to your kids, they remain your kids for life. But if you put on walls, like family should end at a certain point where it doesn't bring out that mindset of continuity, because they are part of you, your family, your kids are yourself, they are you in a little smaller form. So you are transferring yourself to them. When that part is closed up, it becomes quite difficult. You lose kids. That's why today we have a lot of parents who have their children that they cannot initiate conversations for more than 2 minutes. It's all about, are you fine? Yes, I'm fine. Okay, I just wanted to say hi.
Well, it's really unfortunate that we, some of us did not really have this opportunity to have our future prepared for, as some of the children you're talking about were prepared. So, nevertheless, do you think it is really appropriate for a father to decide for the fate of the children?
Like I was saying, it's appropriate if the father has a very good vision on where he's going. It's appropriate. Sometimes the vision could be modified, but it could still stand on the same strands. I will take, for example, your dad wants you to be an engineer, I don't know, in whatever domain, but you don't see the light in that particular engineering sport. Maybe in another engineering, which it's more easier and convenient for you. But if you have a parent that is more flexible in understanding, okay, you say, all right, since this is what you like, and I see you giving in yourself into it, okay, go forward and I will support you. Because sometimes what we need from our parents sometimes is that support.
Even moral support.
Moral support. Parents think that most sometimes, especially African parents, once they pay you or tuition fees or whatever, it's like I don't know, a kind of entitlement on how to tell you even on which hand to hold your pen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which I think it's quite good to want to have a certain perfection over your child, but it's also quite good to know where the things are heading to.
Exactly. Because there are so many people who are frustrated just because they have or they had to do what their parents wanted them to do. For example, in school, there are so many people who are forced to learn what they don't want to, but just because their parent imposed them. But nevertheless, I for once, I'm a civil engineer today. I never wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to do IT, but my dad actually made me do civil engineering. Nevertheless, today I am not working as a civil engineer. I am into project management because during COVID, I actually went online. I wanted to occupy myself, so I subscribed on an online course, and I actually learned something else. I succeeded to please my father. Then at the end, I learned something else, and that is what I'm doing. I'm working today as a scheduler into project management. So even if our parents impose what we want to do, there is a time where we really need to take control of our destiny. You see, there is a time, I think there's a time we need to take control of our destiny. Some people are saying that, our destiny is being decided by God. True. But I think the same way as God gave us the choice to choose between good and bad, He also gave us the opportunity to modify our destiny. Because everybody on earth, they have a role to play. If we are still alive, it's because we have not accomplished our mission. As we were saying, that there are so many children who do not know why they are on earth. So I think the more we are growing older, we have to consider what our parents want us to become, and then really figure out if it is what we truly want to become. If it is not what we want to become, it is still possible for us to take our destiny at hands, you see, because we should not just live our destiny in the house of our parents the same way as we are living the destiny of Africa in front of to the politicians.
I actually the result of what you become always determine the intake of informations what you have. You will never become something that you're not taught. You never become something that you've not been inculcated with. Meaning that the quality of education you have in an institute will also determine the quality of student that you graduate in or out from the institution. Everybody can educate someone, but depending what kind of quality of education you receive first in return, because that's where the importance is. And now I will talk on a little topic that concerns especially us, the African kids. Almost, I would say maybe 90% of us, we don't have education on money.
Oh,
The religious part of our society makes us to understand that money is an evil. We going out there, your parents always telling you to become someone in life, and that someone is all about chasing the money, whereas in that money they haven't taught you on how to manage it. So you can see how confused a being can be at the end of the day, because yet you have the money. The first thing you think about is to buy a very big car
spend it.
so everyone can see that you have succeeded. And now success pertaining to Africans is all about how you can live stress free. Whereas when for us that are opportune to be living in the Western world, we know that success is mostly defined in if you attempt or achieved your goal, that's where you have success.
And in order to achieve a goal, we need to define the goal, because that is a very important
Exactly.
topic. Because how many of us have actually defined a goal for the future? So if we have no goals, so how can we achieve those goals?
Exactly. Exactly. Like I said in the previous, our parents turn out to want to correct their mistakes with our lives, which is not quite bad, like I say, but most of the time not often correct. You understand?
Mhm.
Now, that's why most of the time goals pertaining to kids in the house or familyhood in general is not really quite defined. They're trying that they should build a house that grandfather didn't build. So it's so much focus on the little things that now the kids that are grown up in this venture turn out to want to be as rich as possible so they can build a house,
Buy a car.
buy a car, which for that is a result and a conclusion of success, which is really erroneous.
And one more thing, to also have so many girls. Anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Bertrand Kwame. It was very interesting having you on board.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Okay, do you have any other thing to say, like any advice to give to the parents, to adults, to kids, or any to the audience who are actually watching us now?
Look, my little advice I would give to parents out there is to be parents. Parent your kids, have knowledge on who are parents, and also before you build up a family, always turn out to have a vision on where that family is going, because it's very important. We on earth have a mighty being that give us instructions,
Okay.
and I think if you go down deep to the annals, we all have the instruction on how to guide us on how to parent well and how to build a family that will build an empire. Because I would tell parents that success is not something which is that comes by chance. Success is really prepared. Sometimes it may not come with the first generation, may but if they continue in the same vision, it comes out definitely. Because if we go back to the Asian community, the Asian most Asian countries, most of the companies you see today existing some of them started like 400-500 years ago,
And they still exist.
and they're still existing, and they will grow, and they will do continuity, because that's that it's most about familyship. They do continuity, they bring in the children in this generation, they train them in the things that they know that it's ongoing and what will push the company to grow more, and they go for it. So I think we should have the mindset of communication with our kids,
Okay.
trying to understand them too, because not only kids should understand parents, but parents too can also understand kids. And it doesn't make you to be lesser a parent or less respected if you sometimes accept the ideas of your kids or share the same values with what they think or see moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah. And we should also hide our bad characters or bad habits from our kids is very important too,
Okay.
so that they shouldn't think it's normal.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you everyone for watching. So as you have heard, our parents in particular should open room for more communication with their children, and they should try to understand, especially their educational background, to understand their limitations and also the limitations of the children. Because children nowadays are not the same children like let me just say 10 or 20 years ago. So things have changed. So when trying to communicate with the children, we should understand that we are talking to people who are also being impacted by social media, by friends, so we should know how to communicate with them. So thank you very much for watching. Feel free to comment this video so that we can also actually learn from you. Maybe you have an important information that we can also learn from it, and feel free to share the video so that everybody can get the information.